So we've signed a few defenders, a couple of defensive midfielders, and a goalkeeper. It's really important at the end of this window, Mikel, that we get in at least one more attacker. Yeah, no problem. We're going to get one in. We're going to get an attacker. Are you sure? Yes.
5 minutes later.
Remember Rafinha? Yeah. Really good attacking player from Barcelona. Yeah. Remember how he used to play for Rennes? Yeah. Jeremy Jacquet. Right. Who's he? So is this defender?
Wrong microphone! Oh no! How did I mess that up so bad? How did I mess it up so bad? It was so good. The idea was there. The concept was brilliant. The execution, just not quite there. Good morning. Thank you so much to all of you being here. Thank you. Oh, I'm so annoyed at myself. There's even part of me that wants to go through the embarrassing process of repeating it. The show must go on. Good morning to you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate your time. Have an absolutely fantastic, or rather, I hope you've had an absolutely fantastic rest of your weekend. Really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. You know, the problem I've got is that when I get up in the morning, I sit in this chair and I put the camera on, put the ring light on, get the microphone here, headphones in. Now I can hear my voice through the headphones. It kind of helps me focus, if you like. And if I can hear my voice, it means the microphone should be on and selected. So whenever I can hear myself, as soon as I click the right microphone, I can start hearing myself through the speakers. It's fine. There you go. Anyway, Arsenal are going to release a new kit today. And I was like, you know, the last time Arsenal wore a kit that was white with burgundy, it was this kit. So I was like, I'm going to wear this kit today because we're launching the new kit. I'll throw up on the screen for you the slide I've got. Otherwise, it won't make any sense. You can see how old this shirt is now. Now, I'm 30 years old, right? 30 years of age. I got this shirt when I was 2008, 2009. That was what? 2008, 12 years ago. So I was just 17. I was 17 when this shirt came out. I think it was earlier than that. 17, believe it or not, when this shirt came out. It looks like it came out in 2008, doesn't it? But it fits just. I can get it on, but it's quite snug. So I am quite glad that as of today, Arsenal will be releasing a brand new shirt that that means that this one finally can be retired, and that my 30-year-old body and amazing physique will, of course, fit in a little bit more comfortably. Mo says, 17. How can you still be the same size? I know. How can I be, Mo? How can I be the same size? How can I be the same size, eh? It's a miracle, some say. An absolute miracle that I am indeed the same size. It was 17 years ago. I can't do maths. Yes, thank you all. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, 17. So I was... I was 13 years old when I wore this shirt for the first time. 13 years old. Somehow it still fits. How baggy it must have been as a 13-year-old. Goodness gracious me. I can't even change it midway through the show. I'd love to do that. I'd love to click the button at halfway and take this off. But it's actually a 2-person job to get this shirt off. So there's no way that's going to happen halfway through. 13. Incredible. Right, let's... You're going to have to deal with it now. Good morning to you all joining us in the chat box. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for listening. Who else have we got in the chat this morning? Kirill, a miracle in the chat. It's a miracle I got into this shirt. That's what it is. Issa, it's a surprise I got into this shirt. I can't do this for every single name. Benny. No, I can't do it. Kish, good morning to you, to Rich, Mohammed. We've got D. We've got Z. We've got D and Z. We've got George in the chat. We've got Gunners in the chat. We've got Rich. Good morning to you all. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in and listening. Really appreciate you tuning in indeed. Do drop a like on the... Oh, hold on. Carl, Fitz, question mark. It's on me, isn't it? It's on me. That's enough. I'm just gonna lower this chair slightly. There we go. Maybe you don't have to see how tight it really is. Right, good morning to you all. Let's jump into today's story, shall we? We kick off. Well, I can't sit this low down. It's going to kill my knees. Arsenal, of course, will be launching their brand new shirt, which will be much less snug when we eventually... But who's on the back's a good question, boss. The person on the back of this shirt... I know I'm going off on tangents. I'm really going to annoy anyone that hates me going off on tangents. He took 5 minutes and 45 seconds. The person on the back of the shirt... You see that? Hold on. There he is. The one, the only, Thomas Rosicki. It's painted on, says Chat. All right, this is getting personal now, people. This is getting personal. Look, I've been trying. I've given up Pepsi. I've given up fizzy drinks. I'm down a few pounds. But you're really hurting my vibe here. You really are coming for me this morning. Good morning, though. Let's carry on. Arsenal's women's sides kicked off pre-season with a 2-0 win over Bristol City. Renee Slegger's getting underway. Her preparations, of course, for the new campaign as European champions. Worth pointing that out. And great to see them obviously lift another trophy this season. Freddie Cardi, writing for the online Gooner, has, of course, written a really good piece with some information on the details of the article. Go and check it out on his Twitter @CardiFreddy. And if you want to know who scored, go read the article. Had a really good fun chat with Freddie yesterday. Basically, just moaning about about how in 2025 today, these days, you write articles, you get good information. I wrote a piece, of course, Friday evening about was it? No, it was Saturday evening about how Arsenal were going to release their kit, but obviously not expected to wear it. Got that information, exclusive information, first one to get that information. But you just have to put that information out these days on tweets, because as soon as you put an article out, someone's going to rip all the information, aggregate it anyway. So the days of people reading your actual articles are dead. So if you want to know who goes and scores, go and read Freddie's piece @CardiFreddy on X, and then you can find out who scored. Just fighting against the machine here, basically. Anyway, we did mention in my brilliantly executed introduction this morning, Jeremy Jacquet, or Jezza Jacquet, as we called him yesterday, who, of course, has been the subject of an inquiry from Arsenal. And, of course, he, at 19 years of age, is considered one of the best young and most promising defenders around, in fact. I'd done a little bit more digging yesterday while I was on the train back from the New Forest and kind of looking into him and watching a few more insights and reading some expert opinions around him. And people speak very, very highly. The problem that I've got with this is, beyond obviously Arsenal's need to bring in attacking players during this window, is the fact that we sit here waiting for some kind of indication, of course, that Arsenal might go into the market and add an attacking player. But so far, that has not happened. Arsenal haven't gone into the market and haven't added a third attacking player, despite, of course, already adding Gyökeres and Noni Madueke. And the idea that Arsenal would sell some players to then spend more money in this window, you'd think it would lead us to spending that money on forward players. But we find ourselves here today discussing the idea of a 19-year-old centre-half. And the reason, of course, we're talking about this is the reality that Jakub Kiwior could leave the club in this window. Still, there is certainly a sense that he could leave Arsenal. And if he was to leave Arsenal, Arsenal would need to go and bring in a replacement. But I, for one, don't really want to see Arsenal sell Kiwior. He is a really important player for Arsenal this season, and in this campaign. And I just think that if we are to sell Kiwior and we get a significant fee, the most we could probably make for him, to then go and spend that money on another defender, on basically replacing him, and plenty more as well, I struggle with that. I struggle a lot with that. So I'm sure that Jezza is a great player, but I'm not really keen on. I'm not really keen on the whole idea of Jakub Kiwior joining Arsenal. Leaving Arsenal. Certainly not. That's just not really where my head goes this summer, and especially if it's only to go and sign a replacement who is a lot younger and yes, is exciting, and yes, I'm sure is very talented, but I just can't quite see that being a sensible thing to do, because we know we need another forward player. And speaking of another forward player, the other piece of news that kind of dropped yesterday is on Ademola Lookman. Now, Ademola Lookman has now handed in a transfer request at Atalanta. Now, we know that Arsenal have held an interest in Lookman before. He's been a player that's been on the market for them, and they so far haven't shown really any kind of willingness to move for Lookman. And even after this transfer request has been handed in, that doesn't really look like it's going to happen either. But that hasn't stopped a lot of Arsenal fans, of course, suggesting Ademola Lookman as a potential target. Now, you've heard me talk about Lookman on the channel before. I like Lookman as a player. I think that he is a player that can offer whoever he signs for very good returns. 98th percentile for attacking midfielders and wingers in terms of goals, 88th percentile when you compare him to other forwards in the Europe's top 5 leagues. He's really good at creativity. He's really good at goal scoring. But there is a problem in the fact that he's 27. And now you might say, well, Eze is 27. And I'm like, yeah, but we look like we might be signing Eze anyway. Eze is a separate kind of addition to the left winger. And the only reason we would sign a left winger during this window is if we end up selling one of Trossard or Martinelli. Now, if you've already signed Eze and Gyökeres, who's 27, and Kepa, who's 30, and Norgard, who's 31, and then you add another 27-year-old on top of that, it suddenly starts to ask questions about the balance of the age brackets of the squad and, of course, your investment in those players. Are you likely to get a good return on those players? What's their value going to be post-signing? And I always feel like if we are to move, especially set to be Martinelli, of course, as well, it's going to be tricky. And I know some of you in chat box are saying that Lookman, of course, is being linked heavily with a move to Inter. Well, Atalanta have rejected a 45 million euro offer from Inter. And now Inter is said to be considering Christopher Nkunku of Chelsea as an alternative to Lookman, because Atalanta are holding firm on a valuation believed to be around 50 million euros instead. He has handed in a transfer request. He has publicly posted quite a emotive message explaining his situation in Bergamo as well. I think he will leave Atalanta this summer, and I think he probably will end up at Inter Milan, to be fair. But it has sparked a lot of discussion amongst Arsenal fans about whether or not he should be a player that we move for during this window. But I'd love your thoughts on it, and I'm sure we'll tackle some of those in part 2. Speaking of which, let's go to part 2. Your questions and more right after this. Right, let's go to part 2 of today's show. We tackle some of your questions. We're going to go straight into the chat. We're going to start with Spirit Race Entertainment, who says you are talking about a return on players and then have a problem in selling Kiwior. His value is up, time to sell, do the business like top clubs. He kind of twisted what I've said there and taken it out of context. My issue is if we're going to sell Kiwior, that the majority, if not all of, and potentially even more than what we sell him for, then get spent on replacing him with a younger 19-year-old defender. That's my problem with Kiwior. So I'd see how you've twisted it to suit the agenda there, but just understand that the point about Kiwior and the issue I've got in selling Kiwior is more to do with the fact that we would be reinvesting that money into replacing him and potentially even spending more than we get for Kiwior in replacing him than actually bringing in the forward players that we know that we need during this window. So I hope that clarifies. Martin says, you have to be mindful of the age and the balance, otherwise everyone will need replacing at the same time. Exactly. And if you look at the Arsenal squad right now, and you look at the age profile of Arsenal's squad, Raya, 29, Gabriel, 27, Zinchenko, 28. Ben White, 27. Zubimendi, 26. Rice, 26. Marino, 29. Odegaard, 26. Trossard, 30. And Victor Gyökeres, 27. Kai Havertz, 26. Jesus, 28. We've got a lot of 26, 27, 28-year-olds, which is good for right now. But if you add more 26, 27-year-olds to that group, then ultimately you get in a situation where as your squad ages, it's going to snowball, and you're going to snowball into a period where you're going to have to try and find solutions a lot at once. And when you move those players on, their valuations will have dropped by that stage. So you need to have a balance. You need to find a balance in the group where you don't have a huge bulk of players departing at the same time for very little sell-on value, because at that point, you've got a huge rebuild on your hands, which financially could prove a real challenge, So that's what I mean when I talk about the idea of signing Lookman on top of the players that we already have. So that's kind of where I'm at on that front. It's a problem that Man City have got into themselves recently, and that's why you've seen kind of business that they have had on their end. I mean, they've got £100 million Jack Grealish right now that they're going to struggle to get much money for. AEK says, does 50 million euros not represent a market opportunity for a good left winger? And he seems to be in his prime at the moment. I mean, yes, it does. For a team that can afford to add another 27-year-old, if they're already adding another 27-year-old and Eze into the group, I just don't think for Arsenal it makes much sense. Paul says, Jacquet isn't going to be that expensive as he's not played much. If Kiwior goes, what do we get him for to cover the cost? Unfortunately, that's not true. He's just signed a brand new contract with Rennes. He's considered extremely valuable. Think about how much Manchester United paid for Lenny Yoro at Lille at his age as well. And Rennes value him, and I've told clubs that are interested that he is currently not for sale. So you're going to have to offer an amount of money that makes them want to sell. Now, we know that they've sold players like Eduardo Camavinga before at a very young age, of course, for a lot of money as well. Actually, in fact, they sold him for less than they actually wanted to in the end. So, sorry, Paul, it's not quite as simple as that. He would still be expensive and probably would take up the majority, if not all, maybe even more than what we would get if we sold Kiwior too. Mr. says, Lookman and Eze are very similar. Not really. No, I wouldn't say they're really similar, because Lookman's a more advanced player. Eze is a midfielder, an attacking midfielder who can also play as a wide midfielder. Lookman is a forward, to me. That when I look and watch both players, that's the difference I see. One of them is a forward, the other one is a midfielder. Lookman, to me, is a forward. His best role for me is playing in a system where he can play with another kind of centre-forward figure, play off them just to the left or to the right, or maybe even, there's a second striker just behind. They're the best roles for me for Lookman. He mainly plays off the left. That's where he's played the majority of his games throughout his career, but he can play across the front four. So I don't look at them particularly as similar players, and they would bring differences to Arsenal as well. Nasser says, Aiden Heaven own goal. I've not seen this yet. I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to try. Apparently, it's very funny. I'm going to try not to laugh as I watch it. As well. Okay, so Everton on the right-hand side, ball into the middle. Oh, Hayden shoots from his own box. What a strange decision. He really sticks his leg out to kick the ball. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that. I mean, I know. Oh, and it nearly kicks. There's a fight going on in the background as the game's going on. So it's not even Aiden Heaven. Oh, sorry, I've completely messed this up. So Aiden Heaven actually kind of blocks the clearance. Who is it who kicks the ball? I can't tell. My stream's so blurry, I can barely see who it is. But yeah, that is hilarious. Wow, I don't think I've ever quite seen that. I mean, we did have, of course, the own goal from the other day against Newcastle, which was quite funny. It's Amad Diallo, actually, it was that kicks the ball into Aiden Heaven. But yeah, that's a strange one. That is a strange own goal. But I still think the Newcastle one is anything more comical. He just absolutely, I mean, who is it? Was it, his name just escaped me, but he absolutely blasts it into the back of the net. And it was just one of those moments where you're like, you've got to feel for the guy, because he is a youngster as well, Murphy. It was not Jacob Murphy, Alex Murphy, that smashed the ball to the back of the net. That, I think, was a more comical own goal than this one. Because it's Man United, I guess that makes it a bit funnier, doesn't it? So, for sure. I keep putting this shirt down. It's so tight, this shirt. This is going to be the last time I ever wear this. Not to be decided. I agree with an earlier comment I read about Martinelli not having an Ødegaard feeding him. And I think this is I think it's a fair theory that we don't have that creativity on the left. And whoever we sign, and this is what I'm saying, it's more of a system thing for me than a personnel thing. I think personnel definitely is a question mark there. And finding an upgrade for our left wingers would be great. But there is a system. There is a system problem when it comes to our left-hand side. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Jamie says that pony third kit that the team will barely wear is released. It will make us a camp version of Spurs. I mean, I don't think I agree with you, Jamie. I think it's a really nice kit. I think it's a really, really good kit. And I, frankly, will be getting hold of it in a large, not a years 13 and younger. it's what I'll be getting it in, certainly. So yeah, but it is now officially out. You can go and buy it. It's available on the Arsenal website, I believe. So the question is now, I guess, is who's going to be on the back of the shirt for people. You know, I've been sitting there and saying, do I wait for a new signing? I've got new signings on the back of the other two. Got Zubimendi on the home shirt. I've got Gyökeres on the away shirt. But the question is now, do I instead go and get myself another signing, an Eze? Is it going to be an Eze? Is there any chance that we see an Eze come in between now and the end of the window? I certainly hope so. Yeah, who knows? Who knows if that's going to happen? So there's part of me that's tempted to kind of get someone on the who already exists in the team. And there's a number of options I've got. I quite like the idea of Timber. Really quite like the idea of getting Timber on the back of the Arsenal shirt. Got Ben White last season on the away shirt. Havertz on the home shirt. And Rice on the third shirt last season. And they were all players, of course, that were still at the club. So I suppose last year I didn't get Calafiori, Marino, or Neto, or Sterling. So I could go full new signings on this one. That could be an option. Jamsey says, do you still think it was the best idea for Arsenal not to test a bid for Isak, given that he is now requesting a move? Could we have prompted this action earlier and in our favour? At the time where Arsenal, of course, were moving for a centre-forward, there had been absolutely no indication at that point that Arsenal could have signed Alexander Isak. And further to that fact, his price tag of around 140, 150 million pounds would have stopped Arsenal from signing other players in the market. And I think Arsenal need to sign quality and volume, not just quality. There's also the argument that Alexander Isak, if you invest that amount of money on a player who's got known injury problems that are quite considerable, that you're taking too much of a risk. So if the question is, would I rather have Eze and Gyökeres, and I suppose what's what? Eze is 60-ish million. Gyökeres was 60-ish million. So 120. Let's say we add on top of that Mosquera and Kepa. So for the price of Isak, you can get, and Norgard. For the price of Isak, you can get Norgard, Kepa, Mosquera, Gyökeres, and Eze. I know what I'm choosing, Jamsey. I know what I'm choosing during this window. I think it makes much more sense to do that than just Isak. Corey says, Tom, just make sure you don't buy Timber's actual shirt, or it may look and feel much similar to what you're wearing right now. Thank you, Corey. Thank you for that very kind ego boost you've given me there. Chris says, Tom, I thought you were getting Lewis Skelly on the shirt, or did you get that on another one? You're right, Chris. I did. There was a moment where I nearly got Lewis Skelly's name on the back, and the reason there was part of me that wanted to get it was because I was worried that his number was going to change, and of course it didn't change and isn't going to change. I think he really is quite attached to this number 49 that he has on the back of his shirt. So yeah, I do think there is scope for a Lewis Skelly shirt, but I think Lewis Skelly is going to be with us for a long time. I don't know how long the others are going to be with us, which makes me more inclined to choose them. I love Urian Timber. I think he's a fantastic fantastic footballer. So one of my favourite players in the team, without a doubt. So I'm really tempted by a Juri Timber shirt. I really am. Warren says Isak wasn't interested in moving to Liverpool until we signed Gyökeres. I think Arsenal signed Gyökeres, put Isak's starring role for Sweden at risk. I'm not sure if Isak would leave Newcastle otherwise. It's an interesting theory, Warren. I don't personally subscribe to it, but it's an interesting theory. I'm not sure how accurate it is, though. So, not to be said, just get interchangeable nameplates. That'd be great, wouldn't it? You could just kind of swap out the names and numbers that you want on the back of your shirt. Terrible business idea for the club, though, who would lose a lot of money, I imagine, and Adidas, of course, as well. Jasper says, has Isak waited for us to buy Gyökeres before he asked for a move? It seems like he didn't even want us, or is it just a coincidence? Again, and it kind of falls on that last question we had as well. It's all important to point out that we don't know a lot of what happens in these windows. We just don't know. We have absolutely no idea what's going on in the market. We don't know whether or not Arsenal have inquired this window. We don't know if Arsenal are moving for players like Isak, and we've not been able to get any information out about it. It's been very quiet. It's been done very unofficially, and it's just not escaped. It's just not got out, and it's just not something that looks like happening. So, yeah, I don't think Arsenal would have been able to do it regardless. As I said, I think the price tag, I think the injury record, I think all of these things combine so that we ultimately can't really make that decision without compromising considerably on lots of other signs that we know we need. We went into this window and all of us were sitting here saying, we need at least 5, 6 signings. We've got 5 or 6, and now we're sitting here saying we probably need 7. There's no way that would have been able to happen if we'd have signed Isak. No way. Liverpool didn't spend anything really last summer, and they've also been very well run over the last 5 to 10 years with their signings and their sales and stuff as well. They've won things. They've got a lot of money in commercially. So, yeah, ultimately, we haven't been in as strong a position because our sales have just not been good over the last 10 years, to be fair. As I mentioned on yesterday's show, Big Six sides have, agreed figures with clubs of more than 1.15 billion just on players whose price tags exceed that of Arsenal's own record sale of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain at £40 million. So that tells you just how much money clubs like Liverpool, City, and Chelsea in particular have made selling players. And it's as simple as that. And Raf says, I think we need to be more okay with selling players that we like. But that's all well and good. But the question, therefore, is who? I think most people would be fine in selling someone like Martinelli. But then you need to have somebody coming in for him that's going to pay the money that Arsenal think he is worth. So, yeah, it's all well and good saying we need to be okay selling players that we like. But does that mean selling Saliba for 100 million to Real Madrid and being fine with it? If Arsenal ended up selling, can you imagine the criticism that Arsenal would get if they ended up selling Saliba for like 100 million quid? We get 100 million quid, yeah, but lose probably the most important player for Arsenal's future in it. And that's the issue. That's the catch-22 that we've got right now, isn't it? We have to be okay with selling players that we don't want to see go. And I don't want to see them go. Hashtag Dan says, no matter how good Isak is, the price and the injury concerns are huge. Slot is better in player management than Arteta. He's still learning. And so let's drop that and Isak once and for all. Let's go to Joel, who says, don't you think a wide midfielder like Eze, not a natural winger, is what we need on the left-hand side? I think he can offer us something different. What do you think? I think Eze is still going to offer so much to us. Like his versatility, his maverick nature, his match-winning abilities, all of these things for me are really, really, really important. And I think they're traits that we need in this team. And that's going to be really, really key for us as well. Blue Red says, if you need help, do you need help getting out of that? Yes, it's as I said, it's a two-person job. It's going to be a two-person job getting out of this. It's like a second skin, it feels like this morning. AA says, Arteta needs to change the way we play against the roadblock teams. Most teams master our game so much that we cannot open them up. Do you think buying an attacking player will make any difference? Yeah, I do think it will make a difference, especially if they're of a different make and style to what we're used to. I think that would definitely help. But it doesn't solve everything. It helps Arteta find the solution, but it's not the solution in itself. We need more than just the player that we are bringing in. Chris says, Tom, would you prefer to sell Martinelli or Trossard? Depends on the prices, mate. It depends on the deals. Like, if you're telling me that Arsenal can get 70 million for Martinelli this summer, then I'm probably leaning towards Martinelli. But if you're saying we can't get more than 50 million for him, I'm probably inclined to say move on Trossard. So it's context, isn't it? There's context to that. Corey says, Tom, surely there was another shirt you could have worn. You're just giving yourself more trouble than it's worth. That shirt is fire. It is fire, but the reason I wore it is because today we're launching our first white and burgundy kit since we launched this shirt 17 years ago. So that's why I wanted to wear it. And I had faith that I would be supported emotionally by a group of football fans. I'm starting to see my mistake here. But no bother. No bother at all. Big Smoke says, if the reason we're not signing a new left winger is because we already have two, then why aren't we doing that, what ambitious clubs do, and forcing them out? Big Smoke, didn't everyone moan at Edu for cancelling contracts of players for years? And when you say forcing them out, please explain how that works. Explain to me how we force Martinelli out and get a good fee for him. Explain to me what examples of other players have been forced out where clubs have got really good fees for them. I'd love for you to give me an example of a big club that have done that. This is just bullying now. This is just bullying at this stage. Anajit says, Eze is a key player, but Kieran Tierney as a backup would have been crucial this season. The system needs to be tweaked. I believe it's a system problem on the left. What are your thoughts? We would have had to give Kieran Tierney a new contract, a player whose injury issues have plagued his career. I don't think Tierney being kept is the right. I really don't get it. I don't understand why signing Tierney is the solution to all our problems for this season. I just don't think it's the right way forwards. Big Smoke says, put them in the reserves. Yeah, that will help get maximum value, won't it? Again, can you give me an example of a club that have managed to get big money for a player after, as you say, putting them in the reserves? Can you give me one example? Just one. It'd be great. Just to help me and others hear kind of what this point of view is. J Knott says, Tom, I'm not sure what's a bigger miracle. Jesus wailing, walking, or water, or you fitting into that shirt. Right, this is getting to different levels now. This is unbelievable. The support, the emotional, mental, and just loving affection I get from you all this morning has been truly astounding. Truly astounding. Raf says, I think you went a bit hyperbolic there, mate. I mean, players within reason, not key players. Arteta reportedly said Martinelli is not for sale. Trossard, new talks. We seem to be hoarding a little. Well, I think, Raf, that Arteta is inclined to say he wants to keep players at the club. If he says a player's for sale, ultimately that's already going to limit their value, isn't it? It's going to do something to their value. So I think Arteta's going to want to say he's going to want to keep players, because ultimately if they stay, if he's turned around in a press conference and said, oh, they can leave, it's a bit of a problem. Also, the Trossard new deal stuff is just about his wage. There's been discussions ongoing for a long time. He's not signed that new deal either, and they've not received an offer yet. So it's within their parameters to try and find a solution to that as well. So I don't necessarily think I've been a bit hyperbolic. I'd love someone to give me an example. So far, I'm not seeing any. But I think Arsenal would be fine in selling players if they get a reasonable price for the players in question. Bazza says, we don't want to sell Kiwior. He wants game time. One of the problems with a quality squad is I know there are loads of gains, but they all want to play, and I'm sure Arteta will rotate. Well, that's the question, isn't it? Is he going to be effectively able to rotate? That's what we want to know. Is he going to be able to rotate? I don't know. I have hope, but I don't have guarantees yet over that. Napshot says, blink twice if you need help, Tom. The shirt looks like it's holding you hostage. Gamachu says, just wear the track jacket next time and dodge the haters. They're not hating Gamachu. They're doing what we all do in the world of football, with just a little bit of banter in there. If you don't have thick skin, you can't take it. And trust me, as shown by this shirt, if there's one thing I've got, it's thick skin. Raf says, you said selling Saliba. I didn't mean someone like him, Saka or Rice. That's what I meant by hyperbolic. I mean, the reality is, though, Raf, is that if we're looking at players that we like in the squad that are being linked with moves away, that are of interest to big clubs, that could bring in big fees, Saliba is one of those. No doubt. The same way that Coutinho was for Liverpool. The same way that Hazard was for Chelsea. Those clubs sold really important players from their squads and still went on to win a Champions League after they left. Still went on to win, in the case of Liverpool, 2 Premier League titles after they left. So if you do sell your big players, it doesn't mean that you are never going to win things again. And maybe actually when you say about hoarding players, are you too attached to this idea of keeping the likes of Saliba? Is that actually something that you can't fathom, but actually our rivals have done similar deals and made big money and then gone on to win things with the money that they have then spent on bringing in players with that money? Do you know what I mean? So it's something to think about. I think it is something to think about. Anyway, I'm going to go and breathe in a second by taking this shirt off. Before I go, a couple of member things. Joel's gifted a membership to the channel. I think Kirill did on the other show the other day as well. So thank you to you both, and good luck to whoever it was that got it. Rich, who's been a member now for 40 months, says, Tom, we love you, even in children's clothing. And Gooner76 has been a member for 27 months now as well. Thank you so much for your kind support. Thank you for your kind words today. Really appreciate it. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your Monday, and your start to the week is positive, uplifting, and I hope others around you support you in your decision making, especially in terms of your fashion sense. And I hope you have an amazing week. Stay safe, stay well, stay respectful, stay breathable, and as always, up the Arsenal. G, get the crane.